I think that's good. All right. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Morning Fuel. I am your host, John Bundy, and you are here because you believe in the power of the spoken word and its ability to change lives, and that by sharing our stories, we can help others to overcome challenges that they cannot overcome on their own. Whether it's a victory you need to win in business or in your own personal life, you understand that the answers can be found in listening to others who are willing to share their stories, knowing that their story ultimately doesn't belong to them. All right, today's guest, wanting to get away from the corporate world and realizing how much his sales background could apply to fundraisers, he realized that fundraisers are the best salespeople around because they believe in their product. However, he also had the revelation that nonprofits do not adequately set people up for success. He found his niche. His favorite thing about what he does is the many people he gets to meet and the diverse ways that they want help, and the chance he has to make a difference in their lives. His methods for keeping productive are writing a lot, networking, and raising a teenage son. When asked what advice he would offer to others aspiring to succeed as a business owner, he replied, "Become a great storyteller. Whether you are pitching a product, sharing an idea, or building your village, people long to hear a great story." Please welcome to the Morning Fuel podcast family, author of Fundraising is Everything Done Before Asking for Money, principal strategist of PB&J MarComm, Patrick Belcher. What's happening, sir?
Hey, John.
What is going on? Really, really great to meet you.
Great to be here with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on Morning Fuel.
Yeah, man. Well, good to have you. And so we're pretty much learning about each other kind of for the first time. I know we've met before, and we've got a good friendship on Facebook. Sharing posts and videos and all that kind of stuff. So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned your experience in sales. What did you start doing? What is it that Patrick Belcher started doing before your latest venture?
Well, so I started with a little company called Enterprise Rent-A-Car back in the 90s, and went over to their sales division, getting rid of the cars after we were done renting them.
Okay.
And kind of I created relationships with credit unions, so that we sold the cars, they financed them.
Gotcha.
And really grew that and grew that market share and everything, and moved up with the company, and then went to outside sales with safety and equipment.
Okay.
And
for the same company for Enterprise still?
No, for
or
another
this is
company.
Okay.
So I was with Enterprise for close to 12 years.
Okay. Now, do you know Butch?
I do know Butch.
Okay, excellent, because he worked for Enterprise as well.
Yes.
Were you all working together? Or?
We were there. We crossed paths for a little while. He stayed in the rental side.
Gotcha.
And so, long story short, I got to a point in my sales world that there's a real dichotomy between service and sales. Where the sales they think are the redheaded stepchildren because they get everything they want and everything, but they're the ones out selling the product and generating the revenue on a consistent basis and everything. And then the service side thinks that the sales team oversells it. And that's sometimes true, but most of the time they're selling what the corporate manual says.
Okay, I got you. So what explain overselling.
So like product. Say, in the corporate manual, it says we're going to take an inventory of what you have on site every time that we come into service.
Okay.
And the service team may not see that as necessarily required, just suggested.
Okay.
But it's in the company manual, and that's one of the things that we sell as salespeople.
Okay.
So what happens is you're supposed to maintain them to a certain inventory. So since toilet paper was a big thing over the last year,
Right. I've got a stock now.
say you say that we're only going to stock you with up to 10 rolls of toilet paper. That doesn't mean that every time we come in, we put in 10 rolls of toilet paper. We fill up to that 10 roll thing. Well, the service team may say, well, we're just going to drop off 10 rolls and not count the inventory. So then you end up with a stock.
Gotcha.
Like what you said.
Right.
So anyways, long story short, there's, in the outside sales world, there can be this real dichotomy between service and sales. Sometimes they work really in partnerships. The company that I worked with, there was really a dichotomy.
Okay. So rental car, enterprise rental car to outside sales for other companies. And then when did you start PB&J, or was that the first
Well,
business?
so getting to the long story short,
right.
I got sick of the dichotomy.
We got time, man. Go ahead.
I got sick of the dichotomy.
Right.
I left the outside sales world and I went out to start PB&J because my background was PR. I thought I could go back to my background, and I ended up doing fundraising right off the bat. That was the PR piece that I kind of started with, and I failed horribly. And it wasn't because I was bad at what I did. It was because I didn't understand how to value my time.
Okay.
So through that, I ended up working for the American Red Cross, where they really allowed me to see the value of my sales background. And through that, I did some amazing fundraising for them, crushing anything that they set as far as a goal for me.
Cool.
And then when I left the American Red Cross, I went back to doing the PB&J, but I focused strictly on fundraising and the infrastructure and really the sales strategy that nonprofits need to take on.
Gotcha. So you learned how to do it, go out there doing it, and then you saw how you could assist others to have that strategy that works. Because there's a lot of people trying to raise funds out there that have no idea what they're doing, and it's great causes that they're supporting or trying to support, but if they don't have the strategy, they're either going to burn out or just not be able to get where they need to be.
Well, and that's very true. Nonprofits, if you think about the background stories of most nonprofits, a lot of them started in basements of churches or in garages because a group in the community saw a problem. Mm-hmm. And the reality is they attacked that problem in a small way in their community, but then it grew. A lot of them that we still have around today and that have been around for 25, 35, 50 years, it grew and grew and grew, and they got into reactive fundraising. Right. We need this, so we need to go out and raise this. And, we need more people, so we've got to hire more people. So, we're going to pay them nothing and hope that we can raise the money to pay them. Type thing. And so instead of trying to put together a budget and plan ahead and see what your needs are and see what you need to pay people so that they can survive and stay with you long term, and understanding really the power of story. If I ask you for money for food or for, a widget or whatever it may be, you have a specific value. But if I tell you how that food's going to feed Julia, this child who we picked up last week, who unfortunately has been from one home to another home or, whatever the story may be.
Right.
I'm starting to describe something, and then all of a sudden in your head, consciously or subconsciously, you're starting to form a relationship with that young child that I'm talking about.
Right.
And you may see your niece, a friend of your daughter's, anybody. And the value of that versus the value of just a meal are two completely different things.
Absolutely.
And that's how you can motivate people to give, big figures.
Sure.
Or give or motivate people that were walking into your activity or your presentation just thinking they're going to give $10 or $20 to give $50 or $100.
Right.
Because they've connected.
Sure. You help them to really build, even if it's just in their mind, become a part of a community instead of just, a handout or
right.
some, tax benefit or something like that.
And even though they may not be providing the service that your organization is providing, they feel that they've made an impact.
Sure. The service can't be provided if they don't,
right.
if you're not getting funds, right? Wow, that's fantastic. So, all right, PB&J, now I get it, Patrick Belcher. But I mean, of course, you think of peanut butter and jelly. Right. So what's the J in PB&J? And then what is MarComm? I mean, help me out with this.
Okay, so I'm the PB, obviously, and then my son is the J. He's Jacob.
Okay, gotcha.
So and
now is he part of the business? Is he helping this out, or is he kind of the mascot, or what?
He's probably more of a mascot right now. But he, when there are events, he's put to work.
Okay, how old is he?
He's 16.
Okay, gotcha.
So for probably the last 3 years, he participates in loading things up, and
sure.
He's the grunt force labor when we need somebody extra.
Yeah, the strong back.
Right. But he enjoys it too. I mean, cool. He gets motivated and touched by some of the stories that we get into.
Right.
He also is looking to be involved in graphic design and everything. So he's helped me out with some of the production of some of the the tearjerker videos that we'll put together.
Nice.
But he's the J. And then MarComm is marketing and communications. And as I said, when I started PB&J MarComm, the idea was I was going back into my PR roots.
Mm-hmm.
And I crashed and burned.
Right.
Went to the Red Cross. But I kept the company.
Yeah.
Or the firm. And then just stepped back into it.
Nice.
And the PB&J, as I said, nobody ever forgets PB&J.
Right.
Because they can relate to
Peanut butter, jelly time. Come on.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. It's memorable. So can you give us a little, a testimony, a success story with your fundraising or your teaching others strategies on fundraising?
Well, so, gosh.
Just a recent success story.
Right. So the probably a consistent success story is getting people to understand that asking for $500 or $5,000 or $50,000 is really no different than the ask. But like my book, Fundraising is Everything Done Before Asking for Money, you got to set yourself up for that ask. I'm not, in the world I was raised in, you don't ask for everything on the first date. Right? So you got to put in the time, you got to put in the infrastructure, you got to put in the work. And so it's really teaching my clients how to a most recent client just put it very well, as I said several times. Be brief, be brilliant, be done. So how can you tell your story in a succinct manner?
Sure.
And one of the formats that I enjoy so much is a format called the Pixar Storyboard. Right. And I could use it day in and day out because I practice it every day. But it's one day or every day I did this, and one day this happened, and then this happened, and because of that this happened, so therefore I was able to do this, and this is the result.
Okay.
So it's a real quick, and you just kind of drop in the parts. So using a story that I actually put in the book, every day I enjoyed drinking. And because I enjoyed drinking so much, I had some friends over one day and we ran out of alcohol, so I decided to go out and take a trip to pick up some more alcohol. Until I ran into the back of the sheriff, who happened to be my father's best buddy. And because of that, I had the choice to go into rehab or I had to go to jail. So I chose to go into this faith-based rehabilitation facility that taught me that this wasn't just a physical issue. There was all sorts of issues, one of them being spiritual.
Right.
And I was able to find my connection with God, and because of that, I am now successful and sober.
Okay.
Now,
and
that's not my personal story.
I was going to say, is this for real or what?
No,
it's a good one. I like it.
But I could have filled in a name. I couldn't think quick enough to fill in a name,
Right.
but I could tell that story about that, or I could talk about a child who was human trafficked, and I could same thing. I could tell those stories all day long, but it's a quick, short, succinct way, and I engaged you.
Right. And there's a connection, and then there's the what next, like what happens next, what happened next.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. It's very good, very good. So the influential books that you've read, you talked about a couple. Well, one was Anything by Heath Brothers. Now, I haven't heard of Heath Brothers, but what Switch and Made to Stick? What are these books about, or what do they write about?
So they really are about change management or change culture.
Okay.
In the corporate environment. Chip and Dan Heath are two brothers, and Chip, it was Dan, I think, that just wrote another book called Upstream. And so in Upstream, he talks about, it opens up the book with a story of you're on a river with your friends, and all of a sudden there are these people that keep floating downstream that are drowning, and you go out and you keep dragging them out of the river, but they keep coming. So you stop and you go upstream to see what the problem is.
Okay.
And stop the person from dropping them into the stream to drown.
Right. Okay.
So they're very. They give you epiphany as to why didn't I think about it. And nonprofits do that all the time.
Sure.
They see a problem and they figure how to go up and fix it. For instance, one of the things that they talked about was this program, I want to say it was in Chicago or Detroit, one of those cities.
Right.
And it was talking about how the infant mortality rate was higher there than anywhere else. So they engaged with a bunch of social service groups, and they started getting these women, as soon as they were identified as pregnant and at risk for whatever it be, poverty, education,
right,
whatever it may be, they work with these social service groups, and they realized that if they could get them the help they needed, education, health care, daycare for the kids so that they could go out and get real jobs and break that cycle, then that took care of the infant mortality rate. Another one they talk about, Chicago Public Schools, I think it is, where they realized that the high school dropout rate was the highest in the country. And they realized that if they could get these kids to be successful in two of these three courses, and I can't remember what the three courses were, and get them to school every day, that they significantly impacted the high school dropout rate. And they did.
Right.
They dropped it to less than half of what it was in 4 years. So, I mean, that's big difference.
So they're the ones going upstream to find out what the problem was.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, and then in Switch, one of the things that I always talk to my clients about is find the thing that you're doing right and then build upon that. It's a lot harder to try and figure out how to fix things or how to totally change direction on something. But if you can pivot from where you're doing something right So if you're really good at building relationships, or if you're really good at telling stories, or if you're really good at constantly remaining in contact with your donor base, whatever that is, start there, and then we can bring everything else around. And that's really powerful, and that's where a lot of success with my clients originates from and becomes long term. You know, I hate to say it, but I do work myself out of a job sometimes.
Okay. Well, it comes back in other ways, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, inspiration for the book. Is this, would you say that some of these authors inspired you to write, or did you kind of have the book inside for a long time and then finally write it, or what is it?
Well, so the book is a conglomeration of all my blogs that I wrote from once I got back out from the Red Cross.
Okay.
And I, again, to kind of build business, I started doing a weekly blog. I wish I could get back to the weekly part of it, but
Right.
I'm like you. I kind of do a 2 or 3 at a time.
Right.
Publish them.
Well, re-release, my friend. Take those old ones; they're still relevant, right? And then go and
That's
do
right.
it again.
And I do that often. But anyways, so it was that, and somebody said, you know, it would be so much helpful if you put these all together, you know, and
Right.
so I did that, and connected with a mutual friend of ours, Chris Jones. He was my writing coach.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know Chris, man. I love Chris.
And he's awesome.
Yeah.
And he was on my Red Cross board. So
Okay.
that's how we originally connected. But anyways, he helped me put it together and helped me redo some of those early blogs, because, man, that first writing was...
Oh sure.
that was a challenge on its own. But we put those together and we succinct them into a bunch of chapters. And he gave me some tools that I use with my clients now as well. So... but anyways, that's how the book came together, and it really is meant to be kind of like a reference book where you could take any chapter by itself.
Gotcha. Kind of a manual on how to keep doing it.
Yes.
So name of the book again: Fundraising is Everything Done Before Asking for Money. Where can folks purchase that?
Anywhere that books are sold.
Okay.
So Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Indigo, you name it.
Right. Can they purchase it on your website, or
They can, if they can either go to PB&JMarComm.net or fundraisingis.com.
Okay.
And there's a link there to purchase it straight
cool.
up as well.
Very cool. Well, sir, it's been great getting to know you. But before I ask my last question, how can folks reach out to you on social media?
So I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, there's both PB&J MarComm and Patrick Belcher.
Okay.
And then there's, on Facebook, there's PB&J MarComm. And Instagram, there's PB&J MarComm as well.
Okay. Excellent. Well, last question. What do you, Patrick Belcher, what does PB&J MarComm, what do you need right now as a business owner? What are you looking for?
Well, you know, as I talk about a lot of things, is I always want to grow my network and relationships. You know, you may not need me now, but I hope it's a value to know me.
Right.
And down the road, whether you're looking to start a nonprofit, or you're looking to grow your nonprofit, or you're looking to take on a significant fundraising campaign, you know, $1 million campaigns take $1 million participation. So it takes lots of people. So, you know, whatever that may be, I hope that people will choose to connect with me through any of those venues. And we can start a relationship that will hopefully be mutually beneficial down the road.
All right. Most of your work, Hampton Roads Peninsula? Or?
Anywhere in the Commonwealth.
Okay.
So I go to Roanoke, Charlottesville, Richmond, so anywhere in the Commonwealth. And, you know, thanks to technology, I've even done work in Texas and Seattle. So
Okay. Nice. Well, Patrick, really, really great to get to know you. I look forward to releasing the episode and for those relationships to build and for more people to get to know you and vice versa.
Same here. Thank you for the opportunity, John.
You're very welcome. All right, man. You have a great night.
You do the same.